There we go. We are live. Yes.
Awesome.
Hey. No, I'm excited. We're gonna give, I would say, everyone like a few minutes, maybe like
Okay.
two or three. Um, but yeah. Hey everyone. As you're coming into the room, welcome, welcome, welcome. How to maximize your lead nurturing strategy. I am so pumped and honored and thrilled to have as she's laughing. You can't laugh during the intro. We're gonna do
Making
another
me
one. We'll do
put me
this
on the
again.
spot.
So it's going to be a great webinar today. I'm going to have to do that all again because it just, but no, we're excited and y'all get ready to take some notes, get ready to learn. We're going to be throwing some great blogs into the chat. If you have questions, don't forget to please put those in the Q&A box. Whatever time that we have left at the end of the webinar, we will make sure that we answer those questions for you as well. And hope everyone's having a great, almost said Wednesday. Don't want to take us a day ahead, a great Tuesday. So hope everyone is having a great Tuesday today.
Yes.
And whether you have a good morning, afternoon, evening. So thank you all for joining us today.
Amazing. I'm excited. It does feel like a Wednesday, though. You're right. Like it doesn't feel like a Tuesday.
No, and I feel like especially like how we were just talking about our schedules, and I feel like it's like it does not feel like Tuesday. I'm like, dang, I feel like I've been doing a lot just in like these 48 hours of this first week. I'm like, or 24 hours. Like, come on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's flying by. And we're
It
already
really
in
is.
June.
I know we're halfway through the year, which is sometimes scary to say out loud. I think that's the first time I've said it. Someone said it earlier in a Slack or like at the gym or something. They're like, we're halfway through the year. And I'm like, why? I'm like, please don't bring things like that up.
So
I'm like,
how?
no,
How?
I know. It just doesn't make any sense. All right,
Oh,
everyone. Julia, thank you for being here to help us out. Taj, thank you for being here from Toronto. And let us know where you're from, your business name, and also what you're most excited about learning in today's webinar as well. We're going to get kicked off in just a moment here. Peter from Hawaii.
oh my
That is
gosh, Hawaii. I love that. What's the weather like? I'm in London, and I'm sure, as you know, as they always say in the movies, the weather in London is pretty appalling, and they're not wrong. It's June and we're wearing coats. So what's the weather
oh,
like in Hawaii? I bet it's sunny.
I know. Like Peter, give us some good news.
Yeah.
Allison from San Diego. I know. Like I'm in Austin, Texas, and I think what is the weather right now?
It must be
It's,
hot.
it's 81. The high is going to be 86 today. But we started out the morning at 65.
Wow.
And so it took like rather like not a big jump, but it's taking like 20-degree jump. So it's kind of
Wow.
nice.
Wow. Yeah, that I'm jealous. I am jealous. Peter has confirmed it is nice and sunny.
Dang, Peter.
Everyone but
Yeah,
us in the UK is having great weather. It's okay.
no. It's okay.
Okay, so let me know when I should start because
Okay. We are about 4 minutes in. Hope everyone, like I said, is having a great Tuesday. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening. Today, I am joined by the amazing, lovely, and talented Adiola Soleil on how to maximize your lead nurturing strategy. I got to meet up with her yesterday, and one, she's all knowing about lead nurturing. Two, she has some amazing things to tell y'all today. And three, make sure you're paying attention, taking those notes so you can get those questions ready for us for at the end of the webinar. But a little about her, she is a CRM consultant international speaker and conference host with over 12 years of experience in managing complex email marketing strategies and lifecycling campaigns. So if you do have those questions about those email campaigns, how you're going to be nurturing those leads, anything like that, make sure to ask those questions here.
Yes,
She
please.
runs her own. Yes, see, she's like, get ready. She runs her own agency, Strategy CRM, and works alongside various global partner agencies. She provides her expertise and resources to their clients. Um, as you know, my name is Jeffrey. I'm going to be your Salesy webinar host for today. I'm going to actually stop talking so that way we can let our beautiful webinar host get into it. Make sure that y'all are taking notes, you're paying attention. I'm pumped. I'm glad that we have her here today. And without further ado, here we go.
Oh, thank you so much for such a lovely and warm introduction. I really appreciate it. And whenever, when someone does an intro, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I hope that I deliver. Um, and I am going to let you guys know now. Yes, I am a consultant and I have all the slides, but I am the most, I wouldn't say I'm unprofessional, but I love to have fun. So this is not going to be your typical, tells it all webinar. Let's chat, ask me questions. I'm incredibly chatty, and that's just how I like to do things. There are going to be some things in here that you're going to say, I know that. And I know that you guys know this stuff. So, but there are going to be other things that not necessarily that you don't know, but I'm going to talk around them. And I do have a nice little case study as well to share. So I'm just going to get cracking. So, just setting the scene, mise en place with a little agenda. So we're just going to go through an intro, cover, this is essentially what I think you all know, the different types of lead gen. And then we're going to have a small little discussion around gated versus ungated content, and then understanding customer behavior, mapping out the customer journey, because the two are slightly different, but they do work hand in hand. And then, as I said, the case study, and then we're going to wrap up with a conclusion. And like I said, any questions that you have, you do not have to wait until the end. Please feel free. Jeffrey is like super awesome, and I know that he's going to, prompt me as and when those questions come in. So please do not hesitate. There is no question too big or too small. And if it is too big, you know what? I'll just tell you it's too big and I'll find out the answer after. So there we go. So just as a little intro to myself, I know Jeffrey already done it, but I am Adiola. So hi, nice to meet you. That is me all polished with makeup on. So sorry I didn't put my face on today, but I'm hoping that my skincare regime is really, it's shining through the screen. I'm hoping you can appreciate that. I'm a strategic consultant, so I've worked in CRM, as mentioned, for over 12 years now. I am an international speaker. I'm hoping that also is coming through. I'm hoping you're sensing the vibe that I love to chat. So I've held conferences in the US and around Europe as well, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And at times I am a conference and webinar host as well. So I mingle around within the CRM field. I do lots of different things, and I really do enjoy it. And here are just some of the brands I've worked with, either directly and just a little insight. So Eventbrite, I'm sure you've all heard of it. That's the case study that I'm going to touch upon very lightly today, because I've been helping them, especially with their lead nurture journey. So although my slides may not be that fantabulous, I'm hoping we can talk through them and you can ask me those questions. So those are just a few trusted brands. Some you'll probably recognize and some might be more Europe centric. And yes, so let's just get into the crux of it. So we all know, and like I said, this is going to be the bit that you guys know. So there are different types of lead gen, as we can all appreciate. And, the main ones here is social media, content marketing, and search engine generation. Those are the main core pillars of lead generation that B2B businesses especially find a lot of traction with. Now, I won't negate cold contacting as well, in terms of cold emailing and cold emailing and cold calling as another form of lead generation. However, as an email marketer, I do tend to turn my nose up at those only because from a GDPR perspective and also from a perspective of protecting your IPs and making sure you don't damage your reputation, it's always good to make sure that you're communicating and emailing people, especially that you have permissions to talk to. And if anyone has any questions around that, then happy to kind of delve into it a little bit more. But I do tend to tell my clients and also companies that I work with to more or less veer away from cold emailing only if you can qualify and validate the data that you're sending those campaigns to, because again, you don't want to damage your reputation, and engagement as well as conversion in comparison to the cost that you spend for that data sometimes doesn't really weigh up. The ROI isn't really there. If we focus on these top three right now, we have social media, which is really seeing a huge spike in terms of its adoption, especially now in LinkedIn, most predominantly with more B2B clients. And you will find also B2C companies are also using social media as a way to gain traction to generate those leads. Content marketing, essentially something like this, is a great way of showing your authority within the industry and then using that to not only have yourself as an industry expert, but create resources that potential leads or potential customers will then be able to use to help validate and qualify you as someone that they would either like to purchase from or work with or use one of your services, etc. So that's also another area. And then search engine optimization. I think we all know what this is. Google, in terms of a search engine, is the most powerful and the most widely used. It has the most amount of users within its platform. But again, optimizing to ensure that you're generating the right amount of leads is incredibly important. And this within itself, so SEM is a whole module on its own. So we're not going to go too deep into these because, like I said, I do feel as though you're an audience who knows this already. But what I will do is touch upon them very lightly in terms of just things to look out for when you're using these different channels. So if we go on to social media, so some of the things to keep in mind, and actually these points that I'm saying, I don't like to out people, but I do. Oh, what happened?
Nothing bad, but we got a question from Kate. She's asked, in your experience, what platform channel shows the best results for lead nurturing?
Oh, good question. Okay, so, and let's see, this is why this slide and your question are very timely, Kate. So thank you. Now, what I want to say is here, oh no, you can't see, but ensure the content is in line with the overall objective. And you have to, one, understand the main objective. So social media or LinkedIn marketing or however we want to spin it is actually incredibly useful. And I've seen a lot of clients gain a lot of traction from using this platform. However, the first point here, A/B testing the message versus the audience. So if I'm going to speak very candidly, with Eventbrite, they are using quite a few different messaging online on LinkedIn, different types of posts. And the whole overall goal and objective is to drive through enough qualified leads to their sales team. However, what we're finding, or what I found after doing a review and an audit, is that there's a disconnect between the content that they're pushing out and the overall objective of the sales team. The content that they're pushing out is incredibly generic. So it's wonderful. It's a trends report. But in terms of the overall objective to get someone to the sales team, that's not the right content to push. Right. So you have to make sure that, one, you're using the right channel. And I will say that social is becoming a really powerful tool to generate those leads. So they generate a massive amount of numbers. However, in terms of those that are qualified for the sales team, it drops down to about 1% of them. And that's where you need to be careful. So my recommendation is to A/B test the message versus the audience. I love how I'm wrapping this back into the slide. So Kate, make sure that your message is in line with the overall objective. So if your message is incredibly broad, as we all know, we're going to have a bigger reach. We're going to attract more people. But if that's not the overall objective, which is to get them to your sales team, then start having different types of messaging and split out your audiences based on the different types of messaging that you have that caters to their needs. Does that answer your question, or do you want to have a bit more of a back and forth? Let me know, because I'm happy to expand even more so. But while we wait for you to respond, or while I wait for Jeffrey to interrupt me, um, the next point here is to, again, like I said, ensure that your content is in line with the actual objective. And it kind of ties back to the point with Eventbrite. So where they had some fantastic content, because they weren't necessarily thinking about the overall goal of the sales team, they were doing what they needed to do at the start of the funnel, but it wasn't replicating down further along the funnel. So please just bear that in mind. And if you do want to chat more about that, at the end, I do have my contact details, and I'm happy to be a soundboard for anyone who needs, to just bounce around more ideas. More than happy to do that. One thing I did notice what they were doing as well is they were upweighting spend on particular campaigns when they were doing their A/B tests. So I'm sure most of you, when you're looking at different lead channels, you're going to want to test your messaging. What I will say is please don't do, we're going to let the campaign run for 24 or 48 hours and then front load all of the money on one campaign that you feel is the winner. That's not the right way to do things. Let the spend be distributed equally across both campaigns. And I feel like I know you know this, but Eventbrite didn't know this. So I just have to make sure it's said out loud. If one campaign is upweighted over the other too soon, you're going to skew your results. So ensure that the test is fair, that the spend is equal, and it's running for at least 4 days so that you can get very conclusive and valid results. I feel like for you want to interrupt, or do you not? Okay, he said no. And then also make sure that you follow up with contacts who engage with subsequent ads. So this is just the social ad is the first part. Once you get their details, ensure that we're following up with a lead journey, but you can also follow up with subsequent ads that act as an email campaign. So don't think outside the box. Don't just think that you need to create one piece of content in order to drive them to get their details. No. Once you know that they've engaged with you in one way or another, you don't just have to wait for the email to take over. Utilize that information and have different ads that also act as an email nurture program, but just online on social. So that way you're hitting them indirectly on social, as well as building that nurture journey strategy through email as well. So you're having a double-pronged approach. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Then we move on to content marketing. Right. So this is the fun stuff. Content marketing can consist of so many different things, webinars like this, blogs, ebooks, videos, social articles, etc., etc. And there is a section in this webinar itself where we talk about gated versus ungated content. And I'll touch upon it lightly here. So there are some people, I was on a webinar with a different, well, we won't say who it was. It was another ESP, but we were talking about content marketing. And essentially, one thing that I think is a mistake when you're creating content is to view content as your own personal property, because then it prevents you from disseminating it out and letting it have the desired effect that it needs to do, which is to drive those leads. If you are too concerned about other people copying or duplicating your content at the detriment of generating leads, then you'll do yourself a disservice. So I will just say, don't get too attached to the things that you create, because its main purpose and primary function is to, one, show you as an authority in your space, in your arena, but also to allow those potential leads to have access to view what you can actually do. So remove the personalization in terms of the effort that you've put into it, so that it doesn't prevent you from generating those leads. And another thing that is really good about this is, yes, you can gate some of those that have a higher amount of resource tapped into it. So let's say ebooks, particular webinars where there's a bigger production. Yes, gate that content and make sure that someone provides you with something before you provide them with the output. But there are other things such as social articles, blogs, even some ebooks you might not necessarily want to gate, because you want to be able to allow your leads to view what you can do, so they can get a taste for, they can get a taste for your resources, your product and your services, etc., etc. So here you want to be able to discern when to gate your content and when not to gate your content. Is that, yeah? I just feel like, Jeffrey, there's going to be a moment where you're going to You're going to say something, but maybe I'll just stop anticipating. Do any of you guys have any questions, or you're all good? We're all good. Okay, awesome. Right. So SEM, search engine marketing. Again, I don't want to spend too much time because I know you guys already know this. So one of the things that you should do when you're considering this, because let's face it, we all need Google, and there are other search engines out there, but let's, how many can we name off the top of our heads? Bing, yeah, Google, yeah, it's very hard, right? Because Google is the dominant one. So, just ensuring, one, that your website is optimized. So if your website isn't mobile friendly, if your website is slow and has a slow lag time, and if your bounce rates are high, you can be penalized in regards to your SEO rankings, which will affect the amount of leads or potential leads that will see your website. So ensure you're always doing a site review. Make sure that whenever a customer comes into your website, that the navigation is easy, that they're not just defecting and coming off. Make sure that you're guiding them in the correct way, and make sure that your site is also optimized for mobile. Another thing is to also utilize keyword research. So find out what people are searching on within seasonal moments within the year, what people search for during the months of January to March is very different to what someone will be searching for in the winter. If you are in a retail business, if you're more B2B, your stuff is usually the same, but you might see demand pick up during certain quarters of the year. So making a note of that and understanding what those search terms are that bring people to your website, and then incorporating those keywords into different areas within your site. One, so that you will rank a lot more higher when people do start their research phase. But also it will, and I know you know this, but also it will note to Google that you are indeed an authority and they should be pushing your website front and center ahead of everyone else. And then also finally focus on building those backlinks. I don't do this enough, but it actually is incredibly useful to showing and pivoting yourselves as, again, a leader in whatever product or service you are selling. If there are other websites that are linking back to you, it only builds your credibility. It doesn't go a massively long way in terms of your SEO ranking, but it does contribute and help. So those are the one of the main things that you should look at when you're looking at search engine marketing. Right. So gated versus ungated content. Now, this is a really interesting fact that HubSpot noted that 80% of the content online is actually gated, which is a big amount of content. But you have to make sure that you're gating in line with your actual goals. So if you want brand visibility, if that's the overall goal, to gain awareness, then again, the recommendation would be to not gate. Have your content that is open and accessible to all. And again, if you want to focus on lead generation and ensuring you're getting those qualified leads, then that's when you gate. However, there is a caveat. You must know when to gate the content in the customer journey. So there are 3 stages, and I'm kind of jumping ahead of my slides here, but there are 3 stages in the customer journey. You have the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the decision stage. Each stage is very different to your own business, and you will know exactly in which phases will you need to apply that gated content. So I do have a slide on it, but it's more just to kind of cover what those 3 stages are, not necessarily where to append gated versus ungated content, because it's very unique to each business. But what I will say is to use it appropriately. So whether you're using it within the awareness stage, which I wouldn't recommend, I would recommend it should be more in the consideration and decision stage of anyone's journey with you. That's when you would gate your content. Oh, and it's just, okay. So utilizing data. Right. So here, this is one of my favorite things to talk about when we're understanding customer behavior. I think as businesses, as retailers, as service providers, we have an access to a wealth of information. Whether or not we have the time to use it is another thing. But what I have been telling Eventbrite to do is to not just focus on the email address that they get from the client or from the lead and then pumping them down a nurture journey, but to start utilizing click data. So in this example here, utilizing click data, what I found is someone would enter their email address and that's all you have. You might have their email address, you might have their job title, and you might particularly have some other information in regards to what they've come to you for. But that's about it. And normally the journey itself isn't necessarily catered to who they are as a person. You're just taking them down a nurture journey. Absolutely fine, but it doesn't always do the job. Here, utilizing click data, in the first email that you send them, you can have your leads self-segment themselves by what they click on. So using your emails to identify and to help them identify what their particular need is for you or to them, you can then create custom and bespoke emails that then tailor to what they've identified. So this is a great way of segmenting or allowing them to self-segment themselves so you can start creating personalized nurture campaigns dedicated to what they've identified as a particular need or interest for them. Similarly, you can also overlay web data. So if you don't want to do too much of the heavy lifting in terms of creating bespoke funnels based on where someone has clicked, if you overlay the web data and look at how many times they visited, how long have they spent on the site, and then overlay that with the click data, you can then say, all right, people who have identified this as an issue for them have visited our site more than twice. So it's worthwhile building out a bespoke funnel for these groups of people. And that way you're at least aligning your resources with the maximum amount of pool of people so that there's no deficit in terms of time spent versus the ROI that comes out of it. Is there a question or should I keep on pumping away? Okay. And then frequently visited content. This is a great way to understand, one, where people are going, but two, another way to big brother them in terms of where are they frequenting, what content are they digesting, and how can you service that back into your lead nurture strategies as well. So if you know that they're looking at content that's focused more on troubleshooting, for instance, then you can start highlighting and heroing those points within your lead nurture journey so that you're showing them not only are you an authority or a leader or able to solve their problem, but you're resurfacing that content and kind of drumming it in that you are the go-to person in terms of, you know, whatever issue it is that they're looking at. And that's just one way of utilizing frequently visited content. And then measuring their intent with web analytics. So this kind of ties back into utilizing click data in a sense. But again, building out lead nurture strategies is not a one size fits all. This is what I've been trying to get Eventbrite to understand, is that you're going to have a massive group of people flow into your program, but they're all going to have needs. And your team is only so big. I'm assuming some of you are probably only a team of 2 or 3. So overlaying and measuring intent with web analytics will help you understand where, again, to focus your energies. So if someone is visiting your site within a certain time frame, let's say within 7 days, they visited your site at least 3 or 4 times, you can assume that the intent is a lot more higher because they're frequenting your website. So then again, those are the people that you want to spend a lot of your effort on and building out custom strategies that will work for them and bring them closer to the bottom of the funnel and converting. And then striking the right balance of when to take action. The data will help you understand, and using your data will help you understand when that moment is. So if you're seeing that they're engaging with your emails, they're visiting your website frequently, but they just haven't yet converted. One tactic that we've actually tried to employ, and it's been getting a lot of traction, is to send a custom email from someone very senior. So whether it's your CEO or head of customer services, that doesn't look like an actual email campaign, but more of a personalized letter in the form of an email. Those campaigns have actually been getting a higher conversion rate because it's almost like a one-to-one communication. So they've gone through all of the different channels with you. You've taken them through the consideration phase. You know that they're close to making a decision because of all of the different metrics you've overlaid. So this is the perfect time to then send that Trojan horse, that email that looks like it's personalized, that it's coming from someone very senior on a one-to-one level, but it's just another part of the email program. And you will find that those convert really, really well. And now we go on to mapping the customer journey. It's essentially what I was just speaking about earlier on. So as you all know, the customer journey has 3 key stages. So your awareness stage, your consideration, and your decision stage. And I know you all know the main crux of this, but what we really want to do is just, depending on where your leads are in this particular journey or in their customer journey with you, it will enhance the different types of content that you serve them. So if you want to find out more, we can connect separately, because I just didn't want to cram everything into this one webinar. But there are specific content that you can serve at various stages that will appeal to where they are, but also assist them in moving further along that actual customer journey life cycle. So these are the things that, you know, it will require additional email streams. When you're looking at how to really pinpoint and target your leads, you will need additional email streams to circumvent, I'm using big words, but it's essentially different email streams to help you understand how you can essentially build upon those different stages. So let's say awareness stage is a stream within itself, 4 emails. You will then want to then bring them onto the consideration stage, which may again consist of 4 emails. So like I said, it's not necessarily one nurture strategy that is trying to hit all of the customer journey points in one. You're going to be tactical about this and build them out into different flows, so they flow nicely into each bit until they get to the decision stage. And through there, you can overlay different types of content to ensure that you're keeping them engaged, but also maximizing for conversion. Oh, I'm clicking over here. Right. So when you're mapping the customer journey, the first thing you really need to do is outline your objectives. I've seen this time and time again where a lead nurture strategy is being created. However, the overall objective hasn't been established. And I know most of the time it is to get a conversion, but what does that conversion look like for you? Is that conversion something being purchased on your website, or is it a conversion to get them to the sales team? I think looking at these so much more objective and critically will help you really pull apart the initial contact that these leads have with your content. And it will help you be a lot more critical as to whether or not that is the right piece of content to get you to your overall desired objective. If the two are not aligned, and I've seen this, like I said, I feel so bad, but like with Eventbrite, where the two are not aligned in terms of the content that they're serving versus the overall goal, there's a mismatch there. And so the sales team are very angry at the moment in terms of the level of effort that's being put out versus the output in terms of the number of leads that they're receiving at the end. So bear these kind of few things in mind when you're mapping out your customer journey. Is one, is your content, and I'm saying one, but I'm looking at number 3, is your content in line with your objectives? You know, are you assisting other departments or channels? So have all of these different factors. And if you are assisting different departments, I would definitely say loop them in. This is one of the recommendations that I've made with another client, is that your sales team or those departments that your campaigns are assisting, they are so much more closer to their KPIs, and they understand what does and doesn't work. So although you may own the email channel, they're utilizing or borrowing your channel to meet their needs. So it would make so much sense for you to wrap them into the overall project so that they're feeding into the decisions of your content, of your marketing. So the load is shared. It doesn't just sit on you as a marketer to come up with all of the ideas, to come up with the USPs, to come up with the journey, to come up with the segmentation. Allow that department to take a little bit of ownership so you can work with it in tangent with one another. And then also, does the customer journey align with the overall goal? So what I've seen in a few instances is your initial copy, your initial post, whether it's on social, whether it's an ad on Google, is incredibly captivating. And then when someone clicks on, they're met with a barrier. So you have to understand and make sure that the customer journey is in line with everything that you're trying to achieve. If there are barriers, and that is point 5 as well, you're going to reduce the amount of conversions that you're able to receive. So go through the customer journey yourself and ask not your colleagues, but your friends to go through the customer journey, because your colleagues are also seeing it through the same lens as you, whereas your friends are unbeknown to your world, most probably. And we love to complain, right? So if we're buying something online, the first thing we do is complain if we see a pop-up, or we complain if we've asked to put in our name or our email address before we've even decided on what we want. So get them to go through that journey and see where their complaints pop up, and then see whether or not if it's going to be a potential barrier to your conversions. I've done that with Eventbrite, and I complained at least 3 times when going through their lead nurture journey. So there is one point within their journey where you're downloading content initially in order to get their contact details. I'm going through the welcome series with them in terms of the lead nurture. I see a piece of content within their email that I'm thinking, okay, I'd like to find out more about this and see if Eventbrite are actually as good as they claim to be. And then I'm hit with another piece of gated content where I have to enter my information all over again. So if you already know who I am, there should be some sense of making the journey a lot more easier for me to reduce any friction from me getting to what I need to get to, then ascertaining and understanding that you are the right fit for me. If I'm hit with too many barriers, I'm just going to be put off and end up going somewhere else. So that's a long explanation to essentially say remove blockers.
We do have a question from Joe. I interrupted, I know.
No, I love this. Interrupt.
Yes. What metrics would you recommend to track to measure the effectiveness of lead nurturing?
Oh my gosh, Joe, do you know what? I had a slide on this and I took it out because I wasn't sure if it was going to be too long. But if you can basically, there are different metrics for different things. So it depends on whether you're looking at, sorry, I'm trying to get the slide open now because I'm kicking myself that I didn't add it in here. But when it's your web content, what you actually want to look at is shares. So, social vanity metrics in terms of how many people are liking it, how many people are resharing it, branded search traffic. So, when you're looking at your branded content, how many times are you now coming up because of that piece of content? So in terms of awareness, are you seeing that branded search traffic increase? And then drive to intent pages as well. Are you seeing a number of those high value pages, let's say our contact us or our forms or your checkout, whatever that conversion metric is, are you seeing an increase? And you can measure that increase in terms of when that piece of content went out versus the period that it's been exposed in terms of its exposure. And you can overlay that with, are you now seeing a spike since your campaign has run? Are you seeing a spike to those high value converting pages as well? And then also customer content engagement, read time, dwell time on your pages as well as sessions. So these will kind of help you understand whether or not your content is doing well. And then like your backlinks, do you find other people reposting your content? So that's another great way to see whether or not it's doing well. So you might not always get the direct metrics, but those indirect metrics that let you see whether or not people are resonating with what you're putting out there. And then also the not generic, but the email ones to look at is those sign up forms. So if you have a contact us or add your email address to receive great content from us or more information from us, are you seeing an uplift in your database growth? Are you seeing an increase in your click-through rates as well? Because that also is a great indicator that your content is working as it should do. Yeah, I think I've kind of said quite a lot there. Yeah. And also bounce rates. Pay attention to those bounce rates because one, you do want the dwell time to be high and those session pages, but are you seeing people bounce off? Because that's also a good indication that you need to probably switch it up, or perhaps the content's not as in line with what they were anticipating. Does that answer? I spoke really fast. Do you want me to say that again slower? Sure. Or are we all good? I feel like we're all good. Okay, so there's not that many slides left because I know we're almost out of time. For about 4 more. So use the data to guide you. So essentially, as I said, use your data to automate based on the level of intent. So some of these recommendations, it does require more work. And I'm sorry, but you know what? Segmentation, as MailChimp has said, segmented emails receive at least 38% more conversions. So we know that segmentation is key. So use your data to start creating automations based on intent. So if you're overlaying all of those different web analytics, if someone spent a lot of time on your content, if they've revisited your website, you can take them down a more high value lead nurture journey because you know that they're a lot more invested in your brand or your product or your service. So that can be a lot more of a curated journey for them versus someone who's a lot more lower or bottom of the more top of the funnel, right? More work, but it will have a higher reward. And then also your brand. You want to balance long term with short term. So when you're looking at brand awareness, what you want to do is use your data and to help you understand when should you be using the brand or your brand identity to build quick wins, and what branded content, let's say if you're doing reports or webinars like this is more for your long term. This is a more longer term strategy. So you might not see the results there and then because that's not its function. Its function is to provide the information to a customer, but it's also to help prime them. So it's much more of a longer lead. Jeffrey? See, I'm anticipating him. and then segmentation. I spoke on this already. So overlaying web and email engagement and segmenting that way. Don't just do a pray and spray. Gone are the days. We don't do it anymore in terms of our email communications and our BAUs. We're segmenting. So it should be the same when we're talking about lead nurture. No one is the same. We can segment them into different buckets, appropriate cohorts, but we should start getting into the habit of having nurture journeys that are targeted based on different criterias and then personalize. I mean, we've talked about this. This is a thing that we all know. But use your insights to keep the conversation going. Use the data to keep your brand or your service front of mind. So you don't have to personalize by using their first name. You can personalize by using the data that you already have on them. That first party data that you collect from them browsing your website, them revisiting your pages, them engaging with your content. Use that to personalize your journeys.
We do have a question. It's from Vincent.
Hi,
Vincent asked, "Hey Vincent, yes. Is there any difference between B2B and B2C lead nurturing strategies?"
Yeah, there is. So B2B, the lead time is a lot longer. So it means that your email series might have to be somewhat phased out with bigger intervals, whereas B2C, the customer is more usually, and again, it depends on the product, but the customer usually has a higher intent and will more than likely convert, let's say within on average 5 days. With Eventbrite, their average to conversion, average number of days to conversion is between 11 to 13 days. And that's just for them, trying to get someone to convert to create an event. So if yours is like a very high value item, like you're selling an ESP service, your average days to conversion could be 50, 60, even 100 days. Because there are so many decision makers and so many factors involved. So yes, there are significant differences. And with B2B, what you're really trying to do is sell your USPs first and foremost. Whereas within B2C, you're trying to address the customer's need quickly so that they're able to convert in a timely way. But do you have a more like a specific question that if you want me to answer that, because I'm trying to answer in a very general way, or does that answer your question, Vincent? I like your name, Vincent. I don't know. Is it all good? I don't know. I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so now we're coming to the end, the case study. So I've been talking about them already, so it's not like it's a surprise. But I tried to anonymize them by saying ticketing platform, but I just blurted it out at the beginning. So this is Eventbrite. And they are a well-known B2C and B2C ticketing platform, which is really cool. However, their main issues were they were using social lead generation content to drive leads. However, they were driving a lot of volume, but they weren't driving those qualified leads to the sales team. Also, the nurture program wasn't performing as they felt it should, and the leads were not obviously contacting their sales teams. So when I had done my review, what I found is that their social content was very general and not working in line with the sales team's objective. So like I mentioned in the beginning, it was very much about downloading trend reports or how to create the best event for yoga. It was all very general based content, but didn't actually drive any action value or intent for the sales teams to be able to pick up and utilize these leads, to grow their own KPIs. And again, the nurture program wasn't targeted and it didn't address the leads' needs. And what I also noticed that they overcompensated on additional content instead of promoting themselves as an authority in the industry. And the email flow was too stagnated. So where their conversion time was, like I said, the average conversion is between 11 to 13 days. They were having their leads in a nurture program for over 3 weeks. And within those first 13 days, a lead was only receiving, let's say, 1.5 emails, because an email was sent essentially every 7 days. So you can see here, if the time to conversions is around 11 to 13 days, and you would assume that they would be striking while the iron's hot so much more earlier on. Right. But again, when you're not utilizing this data and thinking strategically, you can miss these obvious signs. So what the solution was for them was essentially to create various different types of social content that appeals to different audiences. So instead of having a very mass-wide approach, what we now are doing is having focused content on different categorizations of leads so that we can then have very bespoke journeys and understand the level of intent per category. It's also a really great way to start gaining some insights and understanding what people are looking for, what is resonating with different clients, and what it is that they are expecting from Eventbrite. So this helps Eventbrite control the narrative, but also tailor the content, because there's so much content out there that this whole general approach to things, it means that they're kind of misfiring with so many different people. Whereas if now we have very specific content and we take them down a very dedicated stream, we can make sure that we're funneling the correct information that we know that they need to get them to the point of conversion. And then segmenting their leads on factors such as intent, decision maker cues, and also web behavior and position in the customer journey. So decision making cues is very important. What you're going to find within your lead strategies or within your leads database overall is you're going to have a very big mix, like a big bag of Skittles, different colors of job titles up in there, but not everyone is the decision maker. So if you want to segment now and ensure that you're talking to the right people, having a funnel that is basically made for those decision makers or those that show cues of being a decision maker will also help you get to the bread real quickly. It helps you get to the meat of things real quickly, and you can cut out everyone else and take them down a more general strategy or lead nurture program, and have something that's so much more robust and is adapted to those decision maker needs. Because what a decision maker wants to know versus someone who's a lot more general are very two different things, which is why having a generic lead generation, a lead nurture program doesn't normally fit, because you're not able to address everyone's needs. And it kind of ties into the next point, which is to promote content that addresses the need of the lead with clear ways to convert. So remember your overall objective. As I said, with Eventbrite, their content wasn't essentially getting them to the sales team. It was actually taking them so much more further away from the sales team because they were promoting other types of content that made the lead feel very empowered. And I know that doesn't sound very nice, but if you want your leads to have a dependency on you, the last thing you want to do is to empower them, to make them feel that they can do it by themselves. What you need to do is to almost use scare tactics. I know, very controversial, but you need to highlight the issues that they may not have even thought of, right? And then position yourself as the problem solver. And that way you are essentially gaslighting them to need you. It's a toxic way of working, guys, but it works, I'm telling you. And then build out further campaigns based on the actions that they did or did not take. And this is essentially using click data as well. So it's not just a one and done. Your nurture program shouldn't just be, oh, we'll have one nurture funnel and then they can just flow into BAU. No. Use the actions that they do take. If they click on a high value piece of content or a high value CTA, build out another journey based on that decision. And if they haven't done anything, take them down another journey that primes them to get them closer to the bottom of the funnel, i.e. then converting. So that's the overall spiel with Eventbrite. And what I will say now is they've created a more robust lead nurture program. Is actually quite impressive. The way in which they've decided to chop up their social content. They're doing a lot more A/B testing using hypothesis-led testing. I wish I'd added all of this in, but it's because time is limited. But if you want to know more about hypothesis-based testing, then just send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to share some of those slides with you. But it's allowing them to make their tests so much more robust and understand what their leads want versus what they don't want. And they've also created separate streams dependent on intent, and also segmenting using click data. So they've really overhauled their entire lead nurture journey from a social media perspective, and we're hoping to see the results of that sometime next week. So it's incredibly exciting. So to conclude, know the customer journey. Understand where your customers are in the decision-making process and ensure that you're overlaying the content in the right place. Be a data wizard. So, you know, all that Harry Potter stuff, utilize it. Use your magic wand, use the data to help you understand what your leads are doing, where they are in the customer journey, how are they interacting with you, who is high value and who should you just throw in the bin. Use that data to make sure that you're realigning your resources in the right place and break them up. I don't mean literally, but break them up into segments. One size fits all, as we say in the BAU world, business as usual. It doesn't work. Segmentation is key. So make sure you're segmenting your leads, okay? And then gate where necessary. Listen, we don't want to be giving all the goods away too soon, okay? Some of them have to earn it. So just make sure that you're gating in the necessary places that work for your business, and then pick the right channel for your objective. So there was a question in the beginning, you know, which channel works really best for leads generation. It also matters on where your customers are. So you need to make sure that you're advertising or promoting yourself where they are. So there's no point in using social if you're not going to find them there. So make sure you're picking the right ones that one suit where your customers are, but it's also aligned with your objectives. And that is me done. Thank you.
Yes, Adiola, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone is saying amazing. Thank you. Right now, I know we have about 6 minutes left within the webinar.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes. If anyone has any other questions, anything you would like to ask, please put that in the Q&A box. Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you for attending, Jane, as well. Y'all have been like such an amazing audience today. And thank you for the questions and being interactive as well. That's, like she said in the beginning, we don't want it to be just a regular webinar. We want it to be a fun, engaging webinar. If you don't ask questions, you know, I'm going to really learn.
Yeah. Ask me all the questions.
And maybe that's like another person that might have a question as well. Yeah, same.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this. And like I said, feel free. My LinkedIn, I didn't put it on there, but my name is Adiola Sol. So you'll find me very easily. The same pictures all plastered all over my LinkedIn. So you'll find me. And if you have any other burning questions, then I'm more than happy to soundboard, jump on a little Google Meets and just answer any of your burning questions. There's no catch to it. I just love to chat. So yeah, I really do appreciate you guys spending time with me this afternoon or this morning or this evening as well. And thank you, Jeffrey. You're such an awesome host.
Oh my gosh. No, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. And thank you for bringing the personality. Thank you for bringing the tools, the knowledge to this webinar today too. And again, like Adiola said, if you have questions, that's what she's here for. You might be a little bit shy, and that's okay. Somebody else is probably shy too in the room. But please email her. I'm going to add her on LinkedIn as well. This is also for, to build those connections, build those relationships. So yes, y'all are amazing. And thank you all for attending today as well. We appreciate all of you. And if no one has any other questions, I just really want to say thank you again so much, Adiola. Like, I cannot, there are just so many words, but thank you from the bottom of our heart at SLZ. We really do appreciate it. And again, the audience, y'all are amazing.
Yes,
thank you as well.
you are. Thank you so much. It's really been nice spending time with you guys. Thank you. And I'm really jealous with all the awesome weather you're all experiencing. So please do send positive vibes to London so that we can stop wearing our coats. Please. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks everyone. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day, your evening, your morning, or afternoon. Do what you love what you do. We'll see you all here next time, same place, different topic. Have a great one, everyone. Cheers.